In light of Sudan's suffering from the fierce war between the National Army and the Rapid Support Forces militias, several military leaders' names emerge, some leaders striving for the country's stability, and others pursuing their own ambitions for power without regard for any losses. Today, we review the life of one of the most important military figures in Sudan, as he assumed leadership of the country during a transitional period that witnessed numerous disturbances and political challenges. He came to the forefront of the political scene after the ousting of President Omar al-Bashir's regime in 2019, taking on the responsibility of leading the Sudanese Sovereignty Council. His career ranges from military service to the complex political role he plays, which has made him a central figure in contemporary Sudan. In this video, we will address the various aspects of Abdel Fattah al-Burhan's life, from his birth up until his role in the ongoing events on the land of Sudan. So stay with us until the end, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Abdel Fattah al-Burhan was born on July 11, 1960, in the village of Kantu, located in the Nile River State in northern Sudan. In that region, which is surrounded by calm nature and dominated by rural customs and traditions, the early features of al-Burhan's character were formed, features that would later lead him to become one of Sudan's most prominent military and political figures. Al-Burhan grew up in a simple family, influenced by Islamic Sufism, following the Qatmiya order, a side that had a clear impact on shaping the values and principles he was raised upon from a young age. The village was a conservative environment, where daily life intertwined with tribal customs and authentic Sudanese traditions, which made him, from the earliest stages of his childhood, immersed in a community characterized by cooperation and solidarity. This environment contributed to instilling in him essential values such as commitment to responsibility, respect for elders, and determination to overcome challenges no matter how difficult they might be. Al-Burhan studied his primary and intermediate levels in the schools of his village, and later moved to the city of Shendi to complete his secondary education before joining the Sudanese Military College as part of the 31st batch of officers. Abdel Fattah al-Burhan joined the Sudanese Military College, which served as a gateway into the world of the army, where he began learning the fundamental principles of military sciences and immersing himself in the details of strict training and discipline. During his studies at the academy, al-Burhan excelled in developing his leadership skills, as he received intensive lessons in military tactics, strategic planning, and security affairs. He was not just an ordinary student, rather, he demonstrated remarkable excellence that made him stand out among his peers. After completing his studies in Sudan, he was granted opportunities to join advanced training programs in both Egypt and Jordan. In Egypt, he engaged in comprehensive training within prestigious military academies that focused on developing combat capabilities and strategic thinking. This period constituted a rich experience, during which he became familiar with the latest methods and techniques used in managing military operations, benefiting from the expertise of Egyptian trainers who possessed long experience in regional wars. As for Jordan, al-Burhan received intensive training in crisis management and leadership skills in diverse environments. The Jordanian training programs were well known for their practical applications, which further enhanced his ability to deal with various field situations. All of this contributed to refining his character as an ambitious officer with a deep understanding of military affairs, preparing him to bear greater responsibilities in the future, especially amid the tense circumstances Sudan was experiencing at the time. After graduating from the military academy, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan began his professional career in the Sudanese army as a soldier in the Border Guard Forces, a unit known for facing difficult challenges and dealing with conflicts on the outskirts of the country. Serving in these forces represented an intense beginning for al-Burhan to learn the fundamentals of field work, where he demonstrated high competence in complex tasks that required caution, speed, and good judgment. These qualities also led to his rapid promotion and his assignment to greater responsibilities within a short period of time. During the following years, al-Burhan worked his way up to leadership positions within the army, holding several posts including commander of the land forces, a pivotal position that requires making decisive decisions during critical moments. In this role, al-Burhan led military operations and directed army units in conflict areas such as Darfur and South Sudan, two regions that witnessed long-lasting armed conflicts. His involvement in these civil wars and military interventions served as a field experience that refined his skills and granted him deep expertise in crisis management and strategic decision-making. In Darfur, al-Burhan was part of the forces tasked with confronting armed rebellions, where he experienced the conflicts firsthand and witnessed the effects of war on civilians. As for South Sudan, he faced different challenges related to difficult geographical conditions and complex humanitarian situations. He participated in operations aimed at achieving stability in troubled regions and supporting peace agreements. In addition to that, he supervised the Sudanese forces in Yemen in coordination with Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo since 2015. Afterwards, al-Burhan assumed the position of Inspector General of the Army, a role that granted him a comprehensive overview of the performance of the Sudanese armed forces. This position allowed him to apply his field experience in developing strategic plans and enhancing the Army's readiness to face security challenges. This period played a prominent role in shaping his future vision of military leadership, where he learned how to balance security and political requirements, a fundamental perspective that later led him to assume higher positions in both military and political authority. Since 2019, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan has become one of the central figures in Sudan, as he led the country during a period of major transformations following the ousting of President Omar al-Bashir's regime, which had ruled Sudan for 3 decades. Al-Burhan assumed the presidency of the Transitional Military Council, facing enormous challenges within a complex political context filled with public anger and increasing demands for change and reform. At that time, the country was witnessing widespread protests, and there was an urgent need to manage the transitional phase carefully to ensure that the country did not slide into chaos. One of the most prominent challenges al-Burhan faced was the dispersal of the sit-in at the General Command in June 2019, an event that triggered a wave of criticism both locally and internationally. The General Command in Khartoum had been the central gathering point for the demonstrators who were demanding the transfer of power to a civilian government. When the military forces decided to break up the sit-in by force, the operation resulted in a large number of deaths and injuries, in addition to serious human rights violations, including incidents of rape and torture. The military council led by al-Burhan was blamed for the incident, sparking widespread condemnation from human rights organizations and international bodies, and further complicating negotiations with the Forces of Freedom and Change, which represented the civil movement calling for democracy. Despite these criticisms, al-Burhan managed to lead the negotiations that resulted, in August 2019, in the signing of the constitutional document, which included an agreement to share power between civilians and the military during the transitional period. The agreement stipulated the formation of a sovereignty council consisting of 11 members, 5 military officers and 5 civilians, along with an additional member to be chosen by consensus between the two sides. It was also agreed that al-Burhan would lead this council for the first 21 months of the transitional period, after which the presidency would be handed over to a civilian figure. Al-Burhan led the transitional phase amid deteriorating economic conditions and multiple security challenges, attempting to balance street demands with internal and external pressures. However, relations between the army and the civilian government became strained as disagreements escalated regarding the path of the democratic transition. This ultimately led to al-Burhan's intervention once again in October 2021, when he chaired the Sudanese Sovereignty Council and carried out a coup against the civilian government led by Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok. This action returned the country to military rule and sparked a wave of protests and international condemnation. As opposition forces accused him of seeking to reproduce military governance, despite his promises to continue the democratic transition through organizing future elections. The internal and external relations of Abdel Fattah al-Burhan were complex and multidimensional, varying between local tensions and effective communication with international parties, especially after the events of the sit-in dispersal in June 2019, which cast a shadow over the trust between the different sides. Tensions intensified further due to the measures taken by al-Burhan in October 2021 to suspend the civilian government, deepening doubts about his intentions concerning the democratic transition. Despite internal challenges, al-Burhan maintained a network of strong relations with many regional countries, as Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia formed important supporters of the Transitional Military Council. These countries viewed al-Burhan and the Sudanese army as a stabilizing force that could be relied upon in a region filled with turmoil, and they preferred cooperating with a military leadership in Sudan rather than the possibility of a civilian government emerging that might open the door to political currents considered undesirable. These countries also provided tangible economic and political support to the military council, which strengthened al-Burhan's position domestically and gave him wider room for maneuver in facing local and international pressure. On the broader international level, al-Burhan adopted a policy of diversifying alliances as he sought to strengthen relations with Russia, which he visited as part of Sudan's efforts to expand its network of external relations and reduce its dependence on traditional Western countries. This visit aimed to open new horizons for cooperation in the fields of security and defense, in addition to economic investment. The step was part of a policy of leveraging the international competition for influence in Africa, as al-Burhan attempted to secure Russian support that might enhance his ability to confront internal challenges. Since 2023, Sudan has been experiencing one of the most violent periods in its modern history, when a fierce war erupted between the Sudanese armed forces, led by Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the Rapid Support Forces, led by Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hemedti. Tensions between the two sides had gradually escalated over the years, but they reached their peak in April 2023, when violent clashes broke out in the capital, Khartoum, and other cities, resulting in significant human and material losses and worsening the humanitarian situation in the country. Al-Burhan, who was serving as the general commander of the armed forces and chairman of the Sovereignty Council, found himself in the midst of an open conflict against a powerful paramilitary force with good weaponry and high levels of organization. This forced al-Burhan to make decisive and rapid military decisions in order to control the situation and prevent the militias from expanding their influence in the country. Al-Burhan justified the military operations as necessary to preserve the sovereignty of the state and the unity of its territory, accusing the Rapid Support Forces of working to divide Sudan and seize centers of power illegitimately. At the beginning of the war, the armed forces under al-Burhan's leadership focused on regaining control of strategic locations that were under the control of the Rapid Support Forces, including Khartoum International Airport and several camps and vital government facilities. The military operations faced enormous challenges, including combat in densely populated urban areas, which made it difficult to avoid civilian casualties. Despite this, al-Burhan insisted on the need to continue the campaign until the rebellion was completely eliminated. In addition to the military battles, al-Burhan sought to strengthen his political and diplomatic position regionally and internationally. He worked to obtain support from friendly countries and allies in the region, such as Egypt, which affirmed the necessity of restoring security and stability in Sudan. He also appealed to the international community to stand beside the legitimate government, warning about the dangers posed by armed groups seeking to seize power by force. The war had profound impacts on the humanitarian situation in Sudan, causing hundreds of thousands of civilians to be displaced, in addition to destroying infrastructure in wide areas of the country. As the military operations continued, calls increased from international organizations for a ceasefire and for negotiating a political solution. But al-Burhan insisted that any solution must ensure the dismantling of the rapid support forces and their integration into the army under a unified leadership, stressing that no parallel armies would be allowed to exist in Sudan. Meanwhile, the Sudanese people continue to suffer from a fierce war that pays no regard whatsoever to civilian lives. Abdel Fattah al-Burhan is a controversial military and political figure in the modern history of Sudan. Throughout his career, it becomes clear that his military role overlaps with his political role. And despite his persistent attempts to achieve stability, even if through war, he also faced accusations of violating civilians' rights and killing protesters. With the war ongoing, al-Burhan remains at the center of the events shaping Sudan's future. And here we come to the end of today's video. Don't miss the chance to follow all our new content by subscribing to the channel and activating the notification bell, so you receive everything new.